What is going on, big ballers? It's your boy Manny James coming at you with another episode of Sports Minds with my co-host Joe the Birdman. We're coming at you with another season of fantasy football, and boy, are we excited, ladies and gentlemen. First game is tonight, so we have some great information for you here today. But first, I want to know, how the hell are you doing today, Joe?
I'm just excited as you are, Manny. Football season is here. Game 1 tonight, Thursday night. I'm so pumped up. You know, this time of year, I absolutely love this time of year for the weather and the football. I couldn't be more excited right now. We're going to get into everything that we brought you last year. We've got the hot matchups, the cold calls, the shit calls, the big balls calls. But before we get into all that, we're going to go over some news and notes. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Ja'Marr Chase. He did practice today, but I'm not sure if he's going to play week 1. I don't know if anyone has any idea what's going on aside from Ja'Marr Chase and Cincinnati Bengals, but he might not be playing this week. So if you drafted him, and I apologize, I was telling everyone to draft him. Yeah, there's not going to be an issue. Draft him. Don't worry about it. Good pick. Hopefully he doesn't pull a Le'Veon Bell, but I don't know what we're going to see this week. He is practicing with the team, but whether he's playing this week, still nobody knows. Hollywood Brown out with a shoulder injury, not going to play for a few weeks. DeAndre Hopkins, I believe, is going to play this week, but he's got a knee injury. Jaylen Warren, I believe he's going to play. He's got a hamstring injury, so he might get a few less reps than Najee Harris. I expect him to take a backseat to Najee this week and maybe next week. And Brock Bowers still limited with a foot injury. In regards to other players that you drafted, all the other injuries appear minor and should not affect week 1. CMC is good to go. Jahmyr Gibbs good to go. There's no one else that still has a Q next to their name aside from those guys I listed.
Yeah, and obviously, Ja'Marr Chase, that was for me, that was a fade early on in the season. I wasn't a big fan of his. For some reason, it was something else. I don't know why I faded him. Actually, I didn't fade him. I had him like 7 or 8. It wasn't that much. But as
Maybe
far
a
as
little
that,
more than some though. You never
yeah,
know.
yeah. But one thing I would say is that gives T. Higgins an automatic upgrade, right? So if you have T. Higgins, definitely play him. A lot of people are looking at Osavias, the third stream guy, the Greek guy. He's also a nice little stash. And one thing that people don't realize about early on in the fantasy football season, some of you play the matchups with your certain stars, and you may not get the production you want early on. So if you have a really juicy matchup, you get on a free agency wire, it's almost worth losing a role player to do so. So because those early wins do matter.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same way, and I made a couple moves today with that thought in mind. Now, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Ricky Pearsall, who was shot in the chest and walked 6 blocks to the hospital. The dude is a total beast. He's probably going to miss most of the season, but that was an incredible story, and we wish him all the best.
Yeah, stay the hell away from San Francisco, ladies and gentlemen. It's a dumpster fire over there.
Total
crime.
shithole.
Yeah, total shithole.
Now, we are going to get into the hot matchups, cold matchups, the shit calls, and, of course, the big balls calls. We're going to get into all that, but first, a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey there, my name is Manny James Gonzalez with PRB, and I'm a real estate agent here in Central Florida. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, military relocation pro, and big supporter of 2A and veterans' rights. My specialty is VA transactions. I'm also experienced in all parts of real estate.
I've been living in Florida for over 20 years, and I can tell you we still believe in freedom down here. One of the greatest job markets, excellent economy, and no state income tax. When it comes to an agent, you want one that's going to be honest, not afraid of a fight, and most importantly, willing to do the things that some agents aren't willing to do.
And what's that, Manny?
Shoot straight, Dan. you're ever considering buying in Central Florida, you need somebody you can trust, and I got your 6. I'm Manny James Gonzalez, find land for the free and home for the brave.
All right, getting back into things, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump right into today's hot matchups of the week. And now for today's hot matchup, the one I picked, I have the Lions versus the Rams. I know we talked about the Lions all last year, and this season they're going to build upon that success. But they're going to have a rematch of last year's game in St. Louis, or excuse me, in Los Angeles, because they're the Los Angeles Rams now, or have been for a while. So that's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to go back and forth. And I think it's going to come down to one possession. But believe it or not, folks, and I know this is going to be a surprise, but I don't think it's going to be the Lions that win this one. I think the Rams have some bad blood because Lions put a late hit or a dirty hit on Tyler Higbee towards ACL. And this same Lions team that also tore Tyler Hawkinson's ACL. But all that, rest assured, the score overhead is Vegas has it at 51. I definitely think it's going to be higher than that. You're going to be looking at like 55 plus. So this is going to be start everybody you can on both sides, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, that's a great call. I think that's going to be probably the most exciting game of the week to watch, unless it's possible my hot matchup is the most exciting game. We'll see. But the thing is, like you said, both sides of that football, you've got Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams. You know, Stafford's a consistent quarterback, consistent enough. You're going to see a lot of points from all those guys. And then on the other side of the field, our favorite football team here at Sports Minds, the Detroit Lions, you've got Goff, you've got Laporta, St. Brown, and then you've got 2 stud running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, good to go, healthy, said he was close to 100% earlier this week, said he's 100% today, took that cue away. And, of course, David Montgomery, he's a rock-solid RB2. You guys, any of those players, you put them in for sure. And now for my hot matchup, I've got the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. 2 rock-solid quarterbacks, 2 of the top 5, possibly top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. They're both coming into this season with something to prove. And Lamar, he's going to be running a lot until he finds his rhythm. You know, this is the first game back, so he might be a little rusty with his throws, but I'm sure his legs will be fine. So expect a big day from him. And once he does get comfortable with the pass, he's going to feed Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers like a pack of hungry dogs. And you know that Derrick Henry is going to be eating all day. Like I said, they might want to get a little warmed up to the pass. Derrick Henry, yeah, he's on a new offense, but he knows exactly what to do. Run the football. And that dude is going to have a huge day. I expect him to have over 20 rushing attempts. Even though it's his first game with the Ravens, I don't see them taking it easy. I think they're just going to get right into it, run the ball. And although the Ravens have one of the best defenses in the league, they're playing the Super Bowl champions. So on the other side of the field, you got a busy day for Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, and Rashee Rice. I guarantee you that's going to be a very high-powered, very high-scoring football game, despite a solid defense on both sides of the field. And just because it's Thursday night, that game is tonight, it might be the most exciting for me to watch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Thursday night is the opening kickoff here. It's going to be a big matchup. We're definitely going to see a lot of talent on both sides. Although they have 2 top-tier defenses, you might see a little bit of a checkmate and early on in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden it's just going to be like they opened up a dam because it's just going to come on and pour on the points. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of big tight end formations for the Ravens because they got Mark Andrews, and of course their backup tight end that was a rookie,
Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely, he's also pretty damn good. So they're going to be running that with Derrick Henry. That's a scary rush in front,
Oh man.
And then Chiefs are the type that anything you can do, I can do better. So you're going to see on the other side, they're going to be hammering them with Isaiah Pacheco, Mr. Air Force Ones. He's going to be running around with his Timberland boots, and he's going to be stomping around, running people over because he's from New York,
That's right.
he's a tough SOB. So it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited. It's a perfect matchup to open up a season, and I don't think there's going to be much rust on both these teams.
Now we got to go from the hot matchup of the week over to the cold call of the week. And my cold call is the Steelers versus the Falcons. Although I've been much higher on the Falcons this year compared to last year, we can't believe it until we see it. And right now, I'm just not exactly sure what to expect from Kirk Cousins. He's coming back from an Achilles tear. That's a major injury. I have a feeling that they're going to kind of ease him into that new offense, run the ball a lot with Bijan. It's probably going to be a great day for Bijan, but I expect this to be a game where they're going to be running the ball a lot on both sides of the field. And you also have to remember the Steelers have a tough defense. I'm confident they can stop the run, but at the same time, when you have Bijan running the ball with that kind of volume, he should have a respectable day. You're going to play Bijan. If you have Drake London, you probably drafted him as your wide receiver 2, and you're going to need to play him. But temper your expectations because this is the first game of the season, and Kirk Cousins is probably going to be, not the same guy when he was injured. I assume he's going to be that guy later this year, possibly within a couple weeks, but not tomorrow, not on Sunday. And I think with Kyle Pitts, you're going to have to really wait for Kirk Cousins to get back into full form before you expect anything from him. And then on the other side of the football, you've got Jaylen Warren, who's nursing a hamstring injury. So he's probably going to be, ceding a lot of carries to Najee Harris, but Najee and Jaylen Warren are still going to be splitting carries. They're splitting that backfield just like they did last year. But the only person I would play with confidence is Bijan, and everyone else, I'm going to be kind of holding my breath as I watch the game.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be playing much people. I actually have Najee Harris on a few fantasy teams. I'm going to bench him this week because I have better options that play right now. But yeah, it's definitely as far as that offense, I don't think it's going to be too much for the Steelers. It's not going to be too much like last year because they have a whole new offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith. I like him as far as a coordinator, not a coach. So his problem last year, he didn't use Bijan right. So this is going to be a good revenge game for Bijan. We know he's going to go off. The whole Falcons team's going to go off and try to bring it to Arthur Smith. But I think Arthur Smith's also going to show him something. So you're going to see a little bit of a Derrick Henry type role for Harris. But I don't think they're going to be as productive because the Falcons did get better in the offseason. However, it's just not going to be a pretty game. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be ugly. And I think it's going to be a lot of rust. So this is the type of game I would stay far away from myself. All right, for my cold call of the week, I have the Vikings versus the Giants. These two teams have played many times over the last few years, and they never fail to disappoint on how shitty they are. So Vikings, unfortunately, are cursed because they cannot find a savior for them. I mean, they're stuck with Sam Darnold for Pete's sake. They had J.J. McCarthy tore his ACL in the preseason. That is the last thing you want for any team, right? You invest in a quarterback in the first round, that's what happens to them. So horrible news for them. That's why I personally faded Justin Jefferson because of that. Jordan Addison dropped a lot lower in my ranks too, even though they're both top tier talents. Unfortunately, you're only as good as your quarterback. And Sam Darnold proved to me last year he couldn't even dump the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. Who can't do that? A freaking 10-year-old quarterback can do that. So it's just, I think the problem is he's trying too hard to prove something he's not. And when you accept your role and your skill set in the NFL is when you really start doing great. So unfortunately for them, you're probably going to see another quarterback at the helm before the end of the year. So, but regardless, this week is going to be a example of that. On the other side, Giants. I mean, you have Daniel Jones, right? Who likes that guy? Except for the Giants, they paid him like $80 million, which as an Eagles fan, I love because that's eating up their cap space. He's terrible. Their running back is terrible. They have Singletary. He was good with the Texans, but let's face it, the Giants don't have that same O line. They don't have Laramie Tunzel, right? They don't have any of.
He was okay with the Texans. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say he was. You weren't playing him with confidence last year either.
No, you weren't. Not until the last few games when
yeah.
when their running back was out, right? When Demian Pierce, they weren't using him.
Right.
But still, at the end of the day, it's a terrible team. They have a coach that's on a sinking ship. I mean, the team's kind of going out of control. They got some, they got a lot of issues they need to resolve, and I don't think it's going to be any better this year. So I'm staying far away. I didn't draft any Giants players. Malik Neighbors sat on my draft board way below his ADP. Couldn't touch him. And then, of course, on the Vikings, same thing. I couldn't touch any of the Vikings. I couldn't touch Aaron Jones. If Justin Jefferson fell to me, I would get him.
Yeah, of course.
But Jordan Addison, I definitely had better options around that range, so I avoided him.
And I did actually draft Jordan Addison. I felt like he was just hanging out way too long, so I grabbed him in one league. But, this is like when you're getting into the scraps and you're like, well, I kind of feel like I have to take him now.
Mm-hmm.
I actually should have included him in the news and notes about injuries. I meant to check and see if he's 100%, but I think he's still a little bit banged up. And, with Sam Darnold, I guess we'll see. I feel like Justin Jefferson is quarterback proof, but with a good quarterback, what he can do. And with a bad quarterback, you got to bring him a little bit down. And same with Jordan Addison, and, Hawkinson's out until probably week 6 or 8. And all those guys are going to be, Hawkinson's not playing. Jordan Addison's going to be a little banged up, and Sam Darnold's throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson. I actually did get Aaron Jones in another league too. Let's hope he has a great year, and let's hope Sam Darnold learns how to dump the ball off.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for our shit call of the week. All right, and for today's shit call, it's referring to our draft. My shit call of the week happens to be for this championship league. Did it come up for us, Joe?
Yeah,
Perfect.
We're here.
All right, so around round number 10 or 11, here it is. For my shit call of the week, round number 9, I ended up drafting Lad McConkey, right? And this is after drafting Kyron Williams as my running back. And sure enough, on the way back, instead of grabbing Blake Corum, I ended up going tight end again. And so my shit call was not grabbing my handcuff to Kyron Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to understand is that you don't draft with the intention of handcuffing. You handcuff whatever running backs you invest in the draft, right? And that's only running backs that will have that type of workload eventually. So Blake Corum could have that workload. You go to, Atlanta. Tyler Algier could have that kind of Bijan Robinson workload, right? You go to different places, you'll get a workload versus certain places you'll just get a split, right? And those are the type of players you don't want. So my shit call is just not sticking with the program, making a mental fart. And to be honest, if that's my only shit call I made in that draft, the draft ultimately will go over it, but that to me ended up being my biggest mistake.
Well, don't be so hard on yourself. I actually did draft Kyron Williams in one league and was very conscious of getting Blake Corum a few rounds later, many rounds later. But I made another decision that you called me out on immediately after it happened. When I think it was round 10, I was looking at the quarterbacks because Manny and I, we went late in a couple leagues on our quarterbacks. And you guys know how much I love Jared Goff. And he was still on the board. But when I drafted Kirk Cousins, Manny exclaims, "Yes, thank you, Joe. Thank you." And immediately drafted Jared Goff right after. And I was like, oh my goodness. I don't know. It's just a brain fart. I don't know why I picked Kirk Cousins over Jared Goff, but it's going to haunt me for the rest of the season because I know he's going to have a good year. So that was my shit call, was picking Kirk Cousins over Jared Goff. And you can see it right there on the board.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, is when you Jared Goff was like 5 players down. So the Jared Goff disrespect is so crazy with ESPN and like NFL rankings. Man. Like, I mean, that guy gets no respect, and I get it. You know, he's on the Detroit team. It's not a sexy market, right? People hate on Detroit. They never won a Super Bowl, so they don't dislike them, and that's why I root for them more. They're the underdog. I don't root for the, like one that's winning them all. I want the guy that's not winning anything to get there first. So basically, when I saw that happen, I was like, well, I'm sure Joe caught on to this, but when you missed it, I was like, oh, that was definitely a mental error. But we're allowed to have one. If that was your only one, that's not a bad one.
And what bothers me is I was moving a little too quickly, and I take my time on mostly every round. But you're right, the disrespect is there because he was down far. And you guys know, if you watched our rankings videos, I had Jared Goff at number 9. I had Kirk Cousins at 15. So that tells you that's a 5-6 player gap. That tells you how highly I think of Jared Goff. I mean, the dude threw for 30 touchdowns last year. And the disrespect, it bothers me because he was so far down. That's why I missed him. All right, now I'm done complaining, and let's get into our big balls calls of the week. This is a good segue from what I was just complaining about and I think you're going to really like this one, Manny. My big balls call of the week is that Jared Goff will finish as the QB1 in week 1. The Rams defense sucks from end to end. They made a few changes in their secondary, and there's a lot of fresh faces out there that are inexperienced. And they just traded away the best lineman on their team, Ernest Jones. So they suck against the run. They suck against the pass. And Jared Goff is going to use all his weapons to light them up. I just think that what we were just talking about is also true, that Jared Goff is a rock-solid quarterback. He's got a really soft matchup this week, and all his guys are healthy. And I did think about going with Josh Allen as my big balls call because he's playing Arizona and their defense sucks too. But that's not really that ballsy, is it?
No, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
His balls hang low. We already know that.
His balls are dragging in the dirt. So
dragging across his opponent's faces.
Yeah, just straight up from the grass to their face when he's scoring a touchdown. But yeah, Josh Allen felt like an easy call, not a big balls call. So I'm saying Jared Goff will finish as the QB1 this week.
All right, I like it. Now for my big balls call, I had to go with something. It's something in general. I wanted to make a general statement here. So typically for fantasy football, you're going to see a lot of rust, right? A lot of teams kind of trying to get their programs together, trying to get back in shape, right? Now they have a new system with 3 preseason games and then the season kicks off. So there's a little bit different conditioning. But I think that this year is going to be one of the highest scoring years of fantasy football ever. You're probably going to see a lot of points on the board. So pretty much anybody you start that you expect to be good, you're probably going to see do good. Fingers crossed. So my big balls call, what I have here is Mr. Xavier Worthy, rookie wide receiver for, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to have his coming out game, first game of the season against the Ravens, who happens to be one of the top secondary in the league. At the end of the day, he's running up 4-2-3 or something like that. It's 4-2-8. So he's going to be burning them. He's going to get wide open because they have no choice but to pay attention to Rashid Rice, Travis Kelce. They can't just focus on one guy. And as soon as they do that, you're going to have the young bull sweep into the background. That's why I'm going to call it 100 yards and 2 touchdowns tomorrow.
Wow.
Or today, actually, because it's tonight.
Because it's Thursday. We're recording Wednesday, but yeah, you're watching it Thursday.
Yeah,
but
tonight.
damn, okay.
Yeah, that's
two touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's
Let him hang, baby.
Call. Let him hang. Let him swing. I love it. I doubt it, but I love it. And, we've talked about this many times that there's so many teams that operate better with 2 stud wide receivers. And we could see that situation start to form this year in Kansas City. If you got Rashee Rice, who completely came into his own last season, and now you have Xavier Worthy, those two could feed off each other and just turn into another situation like Puka and Cooper Kupp or A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. That would be not surprising at all if we saw that happen as the year goes on.
Welcome back, big ballers. We really appreciate you coming out and checking us out here again for another episode of Fantasy Fumble. We continue to work on this show very hard every single week, and we invest a lot of time into this, guys. So continue to share, continue to send to your friends, and tell your mothers too, because we really appreciate the love and support, especially from moms. They're always the most supportive.
We appreciate you guys. If you can, if you appreciate our advice, tell some people about it. I hate asking for likes, subscribes, but seriously, if you like the shit we're talking about, like and subscribe, share the video, and make sure you tune in. Every week we got player profiles, 2 from Manny and 2 from me, on the guys that we don't want you to just watch for that week, but for the whole season. So if you see one that's like a month old, you should still watch it because we're talking about some valid stuff. If you look at all the player profiles we did last year, we were really accurate with the things we were saying. I was talking about like the guys we were just talking about, Rashee Rice. We were talking him up big last year and look what he did. So, the thing is, all this stuff, Sam Laporta I was talking about Sam Laporta right after he had one game that looked promising. It wasn't even a blow-up game. It was just a promising game. I knew what was coming. And Manny's even more accurate than I am. So watch those player profiles. Tune in every Thursday for our full episodes. And if you like what we're talking about, spread the word.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate the love and support. Thank you so much for showing out here again today. We'll see you same time, same place, guys. Make sure to wash your ass. We'll talk to you later. All right.